Hello, everyone. I'm Dana Perino, along with Kimberly Guilfoyle, Bob Beckel, look up Bob, Eric Bolin, and Greg Gutfeld. This is The Five. So it's been a pretty rough week for President Obama, and earlier today, someone decided it might help for him to hold a press conference. Safe to say, things didn't turn out quite as planned after the president said this.
The private sector has been doing a good job creating jobs. We've seen record profits in the corporate sector. As I said, we've created 4.3 million jobs over the last 27 months. Over 800,000 just this year alone. The private sector is doing fine.
And then a couple of hours later, he was already walking back those comments.
Listen, it is absolutely clear that the economy is not doing fine. That's the reason I had the press conference. So let me be as clear as I can be. The economy needs to be strengthened.
So, Greg, back in the day, which it might be a banned phrase soon.
It should be.
But there used to be, you would have a purpose to a press conference, like announce some news so that you could drive a message through. Unfortunately for President Obama, that didn't happen today.
Yeah, you have to ask yourself, why did this happen? It was like it was the most pointless televised event since women's bowling. But I think this is the way I see it. It's about Michelle Obama. She wanted him out of the house. This happens to me all the time when my wife wants to clean the apartment. She wants me to he should get out. Go do a presser. We're vacuuming the place. So he's just wandering around. He can't go play golf, so he decided to have a press conference. But the thing is, he was correct when he said the private sector was fine. He was referring to Private Frank Sector, who's in the Army, who sprained his ankle. He's fine.
Who are you kidding? Your wife wants you out of the apartment all the time.
Right.
That's true.
There are times when, especially as staffers, when you're watching the press conference and you're looking for what's the headline going to be, what's the lead going to be. And then, Kimberly, when you heard that today, did you have a little sharp intake of breath, like, there's your lead?
A sharp intake of breath, a sniff, like you do. And I just thought this was his mea culpa. He's made everybody else go out there and say, well, let me modify this statement between Clinton and Booker and everyone else. Today was his. I mean, come on. You can't tell us that the economy is okay. We all know the truth, so you might as well just come clean on it. And I just don't think his original, first press conference was handled properly. He shouldn't have had to go back out again and say something.
Do you remember, Eric, in the 2008 campaign when John McCain, Senator McCain, the candidate at the time and senator, said that the fundamentals of the economy were sound, and then President Obama, at the time senator, took off like a rocket, and that was kind of the day that you thought, oh my gosh, McCain's going to lose.
Unbelievable you just said that, Dana, because today when President Obama took to the microphone and started in with the same stuff, private sector's fine, we need more government hiring, I literally sent an email to you guys and sent an email. I think he just lost the re-election. Right now, on this day, mark your calendar, this is the day President Obama lost because he proved to the world he has no answers. He's just waiting this thing out and hoping, come November, that unemployment starts to get a little bit better because that's what's going to save him. Otherwise, if it doesn't, he's toast. He has no ideas.
So in 2008, Bob, John McCain was asking for people to have the context for which he said that. And I know that politicians, we all want more context. Do you think the White House is asking for some of that today?
Well, if I'm still going to get over Eric's, mark this date down. There's 5 months between now and the election, and there's a lot that's going to happen, including Mitt Romney has to take his share at the guillotine, too. But 2 things. One, I'm not sure I blame Obama for having a press conference when the week there's no news, right? So that maybe the idea is getting some exposure.
But you should have something to announce, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
he called on Congress to pass his bill.
You would think so, but there's not a whole lot to announce, although I will say this. I think I would not back off that. I think the economy is a lot better than it was. And, if he's got to defend himself on it, I would not have come back and changed that statement.
Exactly.
But the idea that, and let's keep in mind that John McCain, that was right on top of the election when that happened.
But
that's when that
the context in which he said it, though, was that the United States economy, if he was trying to get the context. The problem, I think, for this is that you don't get context, and you hardly get any walkbacks. One of my friends, Tony Fratto, today said that the Democrats right now have more clarifications than Clearasil or Neutrogena. I can't remember which one it was. But if you look at just in the last 2 weeks, the mayor of Newark, Cory Booker, rising star, Bill Clinton, and then President Obama, they all had to clarify their comments because that wasn't quite exactly what they meant. Now, Mitt Romney will probably have his fair share things that he would wish that he could clarify.
Can I point something out? Unemployment went up last month. Last Friday, we found out unemployment went in the wrong direction. The weekly jobless claims are going in the wrong direction. How is this economy good or better? What President Obama showed today, he took to the podium, everyone was waiting. Do you have a plan, sir? What's going to happen? How are you going to fix the economy? And all he came up with is, hey, we need to hire more government workers.
The big criticism has always been that Mitt Romney is out of touch. This is out of touch. He's more out of touch than Hall & Oates. I mean, come on. Say that the economy's doing fine.
Now, that's funny.
Well, Kimberly, if you spend much of your...
You remember Hall & Oates,
if you think of the last 2 weeks with all the fundraisers, especially 2 trips in 2 weeks with a lot of the Hollywood set, helping run the re-election effort, those people are doing okay.
They are doing
okay. It's the small business owners who don't feel like they're doing okay.
But also it begs the question, is it a good idea for him to be doing these multiple fundraisers every day when the economy's in this kind of shape and he's out with the Hollywood buddies like George Clooney raising $15 million a party? That just seems like, you know what, you're totally unaware of what's going on with the rest of the people in the world.
What are you supposed to do when you're running for re-election?
Well, one of the things he did is
he had 15 fundraisers this week. 15.
Well, he's also not the president of the United States.
He's the front runner.
But he's not responsible for the economy. The president
is responsible for telling us how he's going to get us out of this.
That's true, and he's going to have to.
No, Romney is responsible for telling us if he wants to be president of the United States, and it looks like he could very well be, then tell us specifically to the point.
Let me get in here on something.
How about the guy who has the keys to the White House?
It looks like he very well could be.
Let me just say, so one of the things President Obama said today is he wants Congress, remember he wants to put this blame on Congress, Republican-led Congress, even though they had the Democrats that led the Congress the first 2 years. One of the things that he's asked for was for his bill to get done. But they've already passed in the Senate the trade agreements, patent reform, the FAA bill, the veterans piece, payroll tax holiday. There's not a lot left that they could do. But what do you think?
I do. I have an idea. Honestly, I brought this out. Remember this, by the way? This was the gasoline thing, and we did the special. By the way, oil and gas are down substantially since we did this. There's a way. Pull up the full screen. He can create 1 million jobs. Obama can. He'd probably get reelected if he did it. Take a look. Repatriate the $2 trillion that are sitting in corporate bank accounts overseas. Bring them back. Tax holiday, no interest, whatever, no taxes. 25% of it, the IRS can escrow 25% of that. And the companies who bring that money back have to use it to hire U.S. employees and to buy capital equipment. Cost the taxpayer $0. There's nothing wrong with this plan.
I think
it would create jobs overnight.
I think it's a brilliant idea. Something you've been talking about for about a year. It was introduced as legislation, and it was defeated.
Since we have 2 minutes, can we get to one other thing from the press conference? Because the other big story this week was the question of the national security-related leaks or reporting in the press. Of course, President Obama was going to get asked about this, and he did. This was his response.
The notion that my White House would purposely release classified national security information is offensive. It's wrong, and people, I think, need to have a better sense of how I approach this office and how the people around me here approach this office.
So, Greg, in one of those articles in the New York Times, they quoted over 3 dozen national security officials and senior administration officials in the article. So either 36 people are are not in line with what the president wants, or he is daring the press to prove him wrong.
Yeah, there's more leaks in this administration than a daycare center. But I love how the New York Times, the writer Scott Shane...
That was funny, too.
Thank you, Bob. You're catching on. They're saying that it's not dangerous, that this doesn't put anybody in jeopardy by having these leaks. By that notion, shouldn't we just start tweeting our troop movements? This is completely crazy. Well, and it is coming from the White House, Bob. Why? Because it's making him look good. If it makes you look good, then it's coming from the White House.
That's, that's an outrageous allegation.
No,
Obama
was right about
this. 36 people being quoted by the New York Times when there's 10,000 people in the security operation.
Okay, they also have 100 people on the conference call for the kill list to decide who's going to go. So maybe that's a bad idea, 100 people. Interestingly, I thought David Sanger, who's a New York Times reporter as well, has a book out this week. And one of the things he says is that after the bin Laden raid, Secretary Bob Gates, who's no longer secretary, but at the time, and he straddled the Bush and the Obama administrations, went to the National Security Advisor, who asked for his advice on communications. And Secretary Gates said, here's my best PR advice. Shut the up.
What do you mean? What did he say?
So, well, I'm not going to say it because it was a bleep word. It's a banned word. It's
shut
my
the
own banned
fruit?
word.
I've said it. I've said it before. I'll do it for you.
So anyway, if you have the Secretary of Defense, and he's worried, Kimberly, that
Already,
they're
right.
causing problems, national security problems from the leaks because they were using it to make President Obama look better.
Very
than
obvious.
Actually, he
Right.
didn't
Look at
even
the end
need any
result.
help. He looks good on national
He
security.
didn't. They overplayed their hand there. He has to deny it and have some kind of plausible deniability. I didn't do it. It has nothing to do
Do
with
you
us.
really
It's
think
not
the
our
President of
fault.
the United States called in people and said, we're going to leak this stuff?
No, I think that
No.
there are
No,
actually
nobody's
people
that naive,
that are
Bob,
trying to
to
help
think
him out.
that.
It could be, Biden. Why can't Biden talks about everything?
Or it could have been the campaign because they were in the national security meetings.
Well, it's
in this
somebody
article,
connected to
in
him,
this
that's
New
a
York Times
fact.
article, Bob, that you're discounting now, there is so much information. They detail how the president dictates the kill list, how he decides who's
Right.
on and who's not on. There are details in this article. And by the way, Dana's right. They cite 36 different current and former advisors described by Mr. Obama, people close to the president. I don't know
Current
how.
and former. Did they
can't
list the
deny
names of
it.
anybody?
Current and former. No, who'd go on record?
can't
Would you go on
deny
record
it.
to
And he's-
and leak information?
We're gonna wrap it up, guys.
I just believe that to suggest that the President of the United States would do something like that is outrageous.
You would suggest Bush doing the same thing.
No, I don't think Bush would do it either.
And he did not. Okay, coming up. We're going to keep talking about the Democrats because are they in disarray? Bill Clinton, Cory
course we
Booker, we
are.
mentioned before, they're off message. Romney's raising more money. We're going to break it down for you next.
At my beck and call, or who says